Go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll get started with a roll call. McKee here, Schultz.
Here.
Bottoма.
Present.
Barrington.
Here.
Nichols.
Here.
Perfect. If you'd like to stand and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda approval. I know we have a couple things from staff / from council.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We do have in front of you on the dais a copy of the work session minutes. Would ask that, was not able to get the final review done of the draft minutes myself, so I'd ask that we remove 7B. And then we do have 3 additional items. One is 10C, a letter of support. We received a request this week from the City of Hanover to support a project that they're seeking funding for. 10D, a request from staff this week to see if we'd want to move forward with a community funding project request, as we were notified of the deadline for that being in between our meetings here. And then just an update on a piece of legislation that is House File 2235 related to legalizing affordable housing and just the impact that would have for the city.
Sounds good. Anything from council?
Can we move, Mr. Mayor, can we move 9B to consent?
Sir,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's certainly something if council is comfortable with it. It was a budgeted item.
I would support a motion to do that.
You want to make that motion specifically, John, then?
I'd like to make a motion to move 9B to consent.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that will become 7F. Now, hopefully it doesn't get pulled. Teen?
9E, just, that is the water conversation and stuff that's bubbled up so much. Wow, listen to the pun.
Yeah.
Cool. No, that was the only question.
Okay. Sounds good, then. If there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended with staff's changes and council's changes and the item John moved.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Commission representatives, we have Corinne here from planning, and Lisa, I believe, is online.
Yes.
Parks and Trails, perfect. We'll go into open forum.
Anyone wishing to speak on open forum can come to the podium, state your name and address. Anyone joining us virtually can press *9 or click reactions and raise your hand. Mayor and council, no one is currently raising their hand.
Okay. All right, then we will go into presentations and recognitions. We have a few today, and we'll start with 6A, which is recognizing Brandon Hines for 20 years of service. I think Kevin was...
Sure, thank you, Mayor and Council. I get the privilege tonight to recognize Brandon Hines, one of Corcoran's finest public works employees. He's a super talented operator and dedicated and loyal colleague, and integral resource for us. And he's celebrating his 20 years, so that's an incredible achievement. And I just really want to thank him, his family, his children for the dedication. He's usually the first one that shows up when there's an emergency, and can't thank him enough. And so I just want to congratulate him, and I hope that he becomes one of the rare 40 year
Another 20.
That will be my goal, because the community should be extreme. If they don't know Brandon, they should be extremely proud. You can't ask for a better employee in Public Works Department. So thank you, Brandon. I appreciate everything you do, and hope to continue working with you for the rest of my career. So thank you.
Thank you.
To continue your years of service, we do have something to add to it.
It's a little slider. Thank you.
You gotta take another one? John's bald head was reflecting. Wear your hat sometime.
Gets you two into counseling.
Okay.
Don't give me that.
Yeah, you
Oh,
better.
he absolutely will. He absolutely will.
I gotta get him in when I can. Sorry.
No
Out of
worries.
order.
No worries. 9B, which is resolution honoring Parks and Trails Commissioner Sharon Meister.
Yes, and the next two resolutions, we did reach out to the two commissioners, and they appreciated their years of service, but didn't want to formally be recognized in this environment. So
Okay.
we'll send them copies of the resolution, but they weren't able to attend in person.
Okay. Sounds good. Do we still want to read through them, or
Yeah,
just
you know,
send
that
it?
is
I'm not sure what they're comfortable with.
certainly up to council if you'd like to read them, and then we could adopt them. At the
Thoughts?
If you just want to read the whereas.
Sure. All right, resolution honoring outgoing Commissioner Sharon Meister. Whereas Sharon Meister was appointed to the Parks and Trails Commissioner for an initial term of January 1st, 2014 to December 31st, 2016. And whereas Sharon Meister was successfully reappointed to 2 additional terms from January 1st, 2017 to January 28th, 2023, which included 1 year as vice chair and 3 years as chair of the Parks and Trails Commission. And whereas during her tenure on the Parks and Trails Commission, Sharon assisted with reviewing various department plans, took part in the planning of the future park system within the city as a whole, implemented a pollinator garden in the City Hall Memorial Garden, assisted in improvements to City Hall Memorial Garden, and reviewed the park's budget and staffing plan. And whereas Sharon Meister has elected to end her service to the Parks and Trails Commission, as her term expires on February 28th, 2023. Whereas the City of Corcoran recognizes the time, energy, dedication, and leadership provided by Sharon Meister, now therefore be it resolved by the City of Corcoran that the City Council hereby honor Sharon Meister for her distinguished service to the City of Corcoran and the residents of the city. Thank you, Sharon. Hopefully she'll catch it on YouTube sometime.
We need a vote on that?
Yes, actually,
Good, yes, that'd be great.
we do. I will entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2023-16.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next is 6C, honoring Commissioner Schulak. Same situation, I believe. Okay. So, a resolution honoring outgoing Commissioner Jim Schulak. Whereas Jim Schulak was appointed to the Planning Commission for a term of December 13th, 2018 to February 28th, 2020. And whereas Jim Schulak was successfully reappointed to 1 additional term from March 1st, 2020 to February 28th, 2023, and has provided valuable service on the Planning Commission for the City of Corcoran, and has elected to end his service following the expiration of February 28th, 2023. Whereas during his tenure on the Planning Commission, Jim assisted in reviewing dozens of land use applications, assisted in ordinance updates, Northeast District Design Guidelines, Development Rights Program, Open Space and Preservation, and Park Dedication. And whereas the City of Corcoran recognizes the time, energy, dedication, and leadership provided by Jim Schulak. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Corcoran, hereby honors Jim Schulak for his distinguished service on the Planning Commission for the City of Corcoran. Thank you, Jim. And with that, I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-17.
So moved.
Okay?
Second.
Perfect. I'll entertain one. There we go.
You said second first. Well, he said he'd make a motion.
Yeah, I'll
He
withdraw
said he'd
that.
make a
Jeremy
motion.
makes the motion, Alan gets the second.
Fine with that.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Okay, on to consent agenda, which now consists of items 7A through 7F. Does anyone want to pull anything?
May I pull 7D?
Sure. Anything Anything else? Nope, okay. I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items 7A through C and E and F.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 7D, the MS4 ordinance update salt storage. Alan?
So I don't have a problem at all with ordinance update. There's a profound statement in here that I've heard before, and I would like to get an idea if council has an appetite to act on it in any way. But there's a statement that says, it only takes 1 teaspoon of salt to permanently pollute 5 gallons of water. Once the water is in the water, there is no easy way to remove the chloride. And so I'm wondering do we have an appetite at some point to reduce our chloride dependence in the city? And I think the majority of it's probably on the roads. I don't want to get into dictating what Public Works does, as a council, but I always kind of wonder why we put salt on the roads in March when snow is going to melt within hours. So it would be nice to get to a point where we could reduce our consumption of salt, not only from a budget reason, but also by an environmental reason.
Do you have any thoughts on that, or
Yeah.
not to put you on the spot if you
I
don't
think-
right now?
Yeah,
that's
no,
fine.
I think that it's a balance of, it's gonna be a generic answer, it's a balance of safety and judgment. We certainly try to be very economical in that, and reasonable minds can differ, but yes, I think as a regulatory element, chloride's gonna be scrutinized more, it's coming, we will be adapting to all that, we're compliance-based. If council wanted to support looking at stuff beyond that, we can certainly do that, but this is compliance-based. But yes, I think that's gonna be a topic of conversation in the growing years, and we will be, modifying to achieve those regulations, but, right now, we just try to make this, it's probably primarily based on safety.
Yeah.
When we apply it, so, I don't know if that answers your question, but it's definitely something in the public works element that is a topic of conversation that we'll continue to evaluate and likely make changes.
Yeah, I would guess I would challenge you in the future, especially when we talk about budgets in the future, how we can maybe look at reducing the use of it. I mean, we've got bookends on each, it's definitely important middle of the winter, right, when we're staying below freezing and, we have to worry about road safety, but when you get to the very beginning and the very end of the season, when temperatures fluctuate greatly, I would think there's a way we could look at maybe reducing our dependence on it.
And finding out more on it. Yeah.
Are there any alternatives for treating intersections in dangerous places short of using chloride?
The industry is evaluating a lot of those, the market is trying stuff, I think there'll be more options, but I don't know in the short term it's as cost effective, so I do think the market will evaluate that, especially as some of these regulations come forward as anticipated, so probably more to come. I don't know if there's a great alternative product that is more effective or cost effective right now. But again, this is a world the chloride world is the new environmental regulation that's coming through the MPCA and other agencies, so it's definitely an awareness factor, so.
Is the liquid treatments used, is that a chloride base as well?
I don't know if I can call on Brandon, but it's all a combination. I think most of it has a chloride element to it. Just different brines and stuff minimize it and kind of dilute it, so to speak, and help with how to apply it and its effectiveness at different settings. But it's still subjective to human error in the weather. So
Right.
we could switch up something and it might be more effective. The forecast could be a huge storm and it turns into an ice storm, and you have to make judgment calls on what to apply and when, and it's an imperfect science. But
Yeah.
I mean, as this stuff gets rolled out, we will evaluate how it impacts Corcoran, and we'll certainly tweak our practices to do that. So
Yeah, I just
I
wanted.
mean, we can certainly continue to keep you in the loop on this as things.
Yeah, I just wanted to raise the topic, and it seemed like a decent time with the MS4 permit update, so.
Did they measure the amount of we've had the assessment on the South Fork and the North Fork of the Rush Creek. Do they measure the chloride content of, because in theory, or do they?
I think that's one of the things that they will be requiring to monitor
Yeah.
going forward. So it would be like a new, what's the term, like parameter that you have to monitor.
Yeah,
So that's not been implemented yet.
It has
probably
not.
pending, yeah. But that's likely to be coming, so that the world's gearing up for what that is and trying to figure it out. It becomes challenging just from a liability standpoint, just because that's just the competition, chloride liability because of the safety deal, so it's being worked out. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's other states out there that are winter states that don't use it too, so there's probably we could look at some merit to that, to protect us from the liability side of it, but.
yeah, like it's coming, so
Yeah.
it's gonna come through the state, and then we'll introduce that to the council, and then if we wanna go above and beyond, then we can look at that too. But I think I would recommend seeing what comes out, in the coming years, and then position ourselves to be compliance-based, or if directed, go above and beyond.
Yeah, it would just be nice to be proactive, because, I mean, as it states in here, once it's there, we're already past the point of no return, so. But I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Got a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. On to, let's see, we have no planning business, which is a nice change of pace. Unfinished business, which consists of items 9A through 9E, which is Hackamore, planning technician, Northeast water supply, construction administration proposals, goals and measurables, and utility rate, base rate discussion. So we'll have a public comment opportunity for those items. And Jess will walk us through.
Wonderful. We do have a public comment that we did receive in advance. Corinne on 9D. And then anyone joining us virtually, if you want to press *9 or reactions and raise your hand if you're joining us on electronic devices. We'll recognize you once we're done with the in-person comment.
Thank you. Good evening, council and staff. My name is Corinne Brummond, and I live at 8985 Bechtold Road. And I just wanted to raise a concern regarding the agenda item 9D under the 2023 goals and measurables. I'm on page 2 of 3, and this is under the strategic objectives of promote public safety engagement within the community and then maintain position as one of the safest cities in Minnesota. What I'm specifically concerned about is the measurable number 2 under that core strategy, which is to create a financial and deployment plan for automatic license plate readers. There's significant legal question on whether or not these automatic license plate readers are an infringement on the Fourth Amendment, the right to have expectation of privacy while driving in your vehicle. The greatest concern is that data is being collected about private, residents who aren't under suspicion and stored all before there's a reason to have suspicion regarding a citizen. And so I just don't know why this is such a high priority for our city when there is concerns regarding it. I have great empathy and respect for the job that our public safety officers do. I just have a concern that when we exchange an essential liberty for a small amount of safety, that is something that is not a balanced exchange, and we need to consider the implication of the opportunity for abuse when that information is stored on private citizens. I won't go into, there is legal precedent out there, the ACLU, Electronic Frontier Foundation, people have filed amicus briefs with other court cases dating back to 2012. There was Massachusetts versus McCarthy in 2020. So recent history where these things are being worked out in the courts. Is this legally obtained information, or does the warrant, in order to obtain the information, need to precede the collection of the data? And so I just wanted to raise that concern and highlight whether or not this needed to be something that was top priority for the city. But again, I really want to say that I have an incredible amount of respect for the balance that it must take to want to be proactive in keeping the city safe. Thanks.
Thank you. And Corinne, before you sit down, I'd love to sit down and meet and talk about some of those cases and some of the precedent you were talking about sometime. So feel free to reach out and
Great.
I'd love to chat about that more.
Thank you.
Can I ask,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor? We're kind of not supposed to engage with people when they do public comments. We're supposed to listen, but since you're on a commission, I feel like I can ask you a question about what you
Sure.
just talked about. Are you, are you speaking specifically about, I think this is a good topic to just take a minute on. The readers, is it the fact that they're reading license plates, or is it the fact that they store the data that you think is the biggest harm?
I think it's the fact that the data is collected before there's ever a reason to be suspicious of an individual. So, like, in regards to the Fourth Amendment, you have to show, you have to obtain a warrant in order to show that you have a reason to go collecting data on someone. But in these cases, since they're automatically recording license plate information as we're driving on the roads, they're collecting that data. And now I will say this is not the only area where license plate readers exist. If you drive on tollways in any of the cities where they read your license plate instead of driving through the toll booth, there are things that read your license plate. So it's not the only area, but the question is that there's just so many legal issues that haven't worked their way through, that I just don't know that maybe we need to give the courts more opportunity before we decide whether it's actually legal. And I am not an expert in this area at all. I know that there are probably other people within the city's access that are more well-versed, especially on the legal side of it. But from my understanding is it's stored on a third party, and police officers are supposed to have a warrant in order to access the information. But I just think that the opportunity for abuse is significant, and so we need to weigh whether that's something that actually needs to be done automatically, or if there's a reasonable suspicion at that point in time, then the information can be collected. Does that
So-
make sense?
Yeah, so my thoughts were, and maybe I'm getting it wrong, but if I've been with police officers, when a person drives by them, they input the license plate and see if there's a warrant or some sort of something that would cause them to pull them over, or some reason why something should be done, or, like we all have had people follow us and, they're putting our license plate into the computer and seeing if, like, we're wanted in Kansas for killing our families and dismembering them or whatever.
I'll retract that,
So, yeah, something like that.
that light refraction or.
My understanding was that,
Sorry.
you can correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding was, it was in lieu of an officer, like, typing in their computer while they're driving, they would be able to quickly ascertain whether the person that passed them or is in front of them has some sort of reason why they should be pulled over or something like that.
May I answer your question quickly? The difference is that it's storing the data, creating patterns before there's a reason to be suspicious. Arguably, if a police officer, if you're driving past and you're inputting that information, you have no historical pattern of where that individual drives accessible to you. But in this case, because the readers are reading all of the time and that information is being
Yep.
stored off-site, you have the ability to now develop a pattern of driving history
Yeah.
or what have you prior to anybody being under suspicion.
Yeah, so the question, I think, is relevant as to the storage. The storage part, as you lay it out, seems like something I kind of would lean towards maybe we shouldn't do the storage thing. I agree with you on that point, but was it storage that we talked about, or was it not storage that we talked about?
So there's several pretty ALPRs have been around for more than a decade. So there's always case laws changing on everything. There's always pending case laws. So we're not talking about a new technology. It's pretty well established. In Minnesota, they have pretty strong guidelines. So for instance, one of the systems that we've looked at, as you referenced, as a private entity, a person could sit there and look at every car that goes by and record, each person that went by, and that's legal, saying, yep, this person drove by, they didn't. To your point, government has a higher standard than, for instance, the general public. So as an example, one of the systems that we've looked at in meeting that goal, let me back up. The state data retention maximum in Minnesota for agencies for data that doesn't involve criminal activity is 60 days. So one of the systems that we've looked at, for instance, which, as she said, is a third party, if you're looking at a stationary ALPR or something that would be involved as a, something that was roadside, the one that we looked at retains the data for 30 days, but once law enforcement has probable cause to believe that there was some kind of criminal activity, they would attach a case number, so what they're investigating, their reason for investigating it, and why they access that data. The reason for the historical retention is really in the addressing the criminal activity. So for instance, where you see the value in that is you have construction site thefts, and you look back and you say, well, I know that, we had $10,000 worth of construction supplies stolen from this housing site last night. If you're not storing the data, or over the past weekend, or something has happened historically over the last 3 weeks, this allows you, once you develop a suspect vehicle or a description of one, to say, okay, how does this, this is our suspect vehicle, enter it in, and how does that overlay with when those things went missing? So it's really for the reason for the investigative look back. If you're only looking forward, as you said, there's not a reason to suspect a person that hasn't committed an act, but you actually have to have something that you're looking for to enter into the system. And the checks and balances would be is if you find any red flags or believe it was being used inappropriately, there's logs to track who accessed what and when, and then you follow the remedies that are appropriate in that circumstance. So there's a reason for the historical look back, and there's also the checks and balances if you're going to access from the data storage standpoint. One of the reasons that, we've waited and not done this is to make sure that there was systems that facilitated that, and I think the industry has evolved quite a bit over the last handful of years to be able to accommodate more checks and balances for individual privacy for residents. And I think that's certainly something that we weigh as we're looking at options.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Good job, Chris.
Yeah.
Mayor, we do have two folks joining us virtually who've raised their hands. Mr. McCollum, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to unmute. If you could state your name and address for the record.
My name is Miles McCullum, and I just had a question. Should I get Lamar Jackson or Jacoby Bryant?
Come on. Sorry about that, folks.
And then second, we have Gabe English.
Just gonna be- Mr. English?
If you could state your name and address for the record. They've muted themselves, so.
Okay. I think Mr. McCollum, you can kick him from the meeting. Okay. Is there anyone else?
Sorry,
No.
can I add one more thing to what, sorry, I didn't finish what I was saying before.
Oh.
On the ALPRs as well, the reason for the live activity is the live notifications of, for instance, stolen vehicles as they pass.
Amber Alert, you mentioned.
Amber alerts, things like that, provide real-time notifications, that those would be in the community, so that's one of the other reasons for having it. But if those hits, as you would say, those things don't have a right to privacy, if it's not one of those hits, then nobody is notified, or members of government aren't able to track who's traversing unless there's a specific need. So, sorry, I thought that was another important thing to make sure was included as
Appreciate
to the reason for the monitoring.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that was a big motive when we discussed it last year, because there have been several cases where vehicles were stolen in other communities, then driven through Corcoran used to commit crimes, and we weren't able to detect them until it was too late.
Okay. Was there anyone else for the remaining items on unfinished business?
No.
No? Okay. will go into 9A, which is Hackamore Road improvements, approving plans and authorizing bids.
Perfect, thank you. Mayor and Council, I would note, we've closed the public comment period for right now. There, someone who had unmuted themselves and muted themselves again is raising their hand, but we'll wait until the next public comment period to address those.
Okay.
With that, we do have Jim Stremmel from WSB joining us, just to give a very brief update of where we are with the Hackamore project.
Hello, Mayor and council members. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we're just tinkering with the volume a bit, but I think so.
All right.
Go for it.
Well, I'm happy to be here to provide an update on the Hackamore Road project. I do have a presentation to accompany this if need be, but I can just summarize the memo, and then if council wishes, I can certainly go through the presentation. Is there a preference by council?
I think stuff we've all seen before. Are we okay with not going through the whole presentation? Does anyone want to?
Summary.
If he wants to highlight it for the audience, that's
Okay.
probably a good idea.
Yeah, maybe if you want to do a brief highlight of the presentation, like
Sure.
kind of the abridged version.
Yeah, so maybe we'll just start here. We can just use this slide for a lot of it. But as you can see here, essentially the corridor of this project extends from 101 to the east there, all the way west across 116, roughly a little less than 2,000 feet west of 116. With this project, we've incorporated a lot of the future development access points and design with turn lanes and so forth. We connected a lot of the stormwater management and worked collaboratively with them to treat the stormwater from the project area with those adjacent developments. On the Corcoran side here, we have worked through a location for a future water main that you can see on the screen there. And then we're also going to be adding right turn lanes on both the north and southbound directions on County Road 116. With that, we also have a trail extension on the north side that pretty much goes through the whole corridor of the project. And in general, we're widening the roadway, adding turn lanes, and improving kind of the traffic operations of the project. Now, we have been working on this project for several years now, and so we're at the point here in which we're ready to approve plans and advertise for bidding, and that's the request here in the council packet.